Hey everybody, how's it going? It's Friday after the close, so we finally got something going here, and don't think I'm ashamed whatsoever that it finished outside this range. I've been waiting for it, trying to get enough publicity on this and stuff like that, which I highly, highly don't think it's because of anything I'm doing, but maybe. So let me just explain what I think happened today and why it's so good. Is if you go kind of maybe read this Seeking Alpha article. Here's just a link to it. So this one, don't worry about this top part, but just this bottom. Looking forward, what I think is going to happen, because it looks like, and maybe a little early, but looks like it's coming to fruition. So maybe read this first and then come back and watch this video, and I'll show you the visual of what I think is happening. So yeah, 20,000 contracts up here that, for simplicity, we'll say just market makers were the writers on. So you had 20,000 calls that market makers wrote calls on, and that's worth 2 million shares that they had to buy. So market makers are long 2 million shares altogether. What happened like last week, or what has always been happening, is you'll see people start to, if Apple starts getting up here, people will close out, the buyers will close out their calls, and the market makers take the other side, and then they have to sell shares to offset it, and it comes back down this way. Day traders or momentum or anything hop on and start shorting the stock or just selling it, and it starts to go towards this way. And that's what's always been happening. Why today is great, because if you come over here and then, yeah, so if you come over here and see, so here's 10 o'clock, Apple is at this 340 area, and then it comes up. Remember, all week, those 340 calls were worth nothing. They were worthless. People wrote them off. That's why they weren't closing them up. So all of a sudden, they come back to life. They're worth $1, $2, $3, $3.50. And so what happens is people, oh, shoot, I'm going to take my gain. I didn't even expect, I wrote those off. And so they start closing them up. They sell them back to market makers because they're the only ones that are going to buy them back. The market makers sell stock to offset it, and it comes down here. What normally happens is it will keep going because, like I said, momentum will take over and short sellers. What's great is now it looks like you ran out of sellers, because it should have kept going under normal circumstances, what we've been seeing for the last 9 months. But now there's just a hand over here where sellers ran out. There's no one willing to short Apple anymore. There's all these longs that are just, nobody owns Apple anymore. It's been sold off relentlessly for so long. So this could mark the change of the guard. Anyway, so this is about 2 million shares right here, what was on the hook. I'm not going to say all this was the option solid, because it looks like it was just right here and then the rest of it right here. But it could be throughout the whole day, so I'm not going to say exactly this is where it was. But so they sold off, say, 1 million shares right here, because there's probably about 1 million right there, got sold off. Well, that should, if you're going to sell off in that quick a time, that should, any stock, go down. But there's just no more sellers to keep going and keep going, and there's just all this buyers. There's buyers sitting right here. I'll take as much, with their arms out, I'll take as much Apple as I can right now. And so it got bought back up, went up here, and then here is probably about, if you forgot about your options or whatever and don't have money to be buying the stock, your broker will just close up for you. And so that's probably what this was, right about that 12:30. It's going to depend on their risk management department and stuff like that, but or it could have been just everybody closing out what it was left if they were looking for Apple to run up some more. And so it looked like you had it again, but again, there's no more sellers behind this. There's only those little shares out there that 2 million worth that were, and those hedges were coming off, and then people bought it right back up. What's great about that is once you start to, referring back to that article, once you start to break this, like this scorecard thing, once you start to break it, it will keep going. Like here. That's $1, so that broke, and then it'll keep going. Why that is because once you break the reign of the options, it throws off the game plan. Like, this is July, so the game plan kind of goes like this. Here is this week's, what we just finished. It should have been under 340, and above 3. Is this the right one? Yeah, 320. So anyways, it should have been 335 area-ish, and then it sets up for next week, the same thing, rinse and repeat what we've just been going through for the last X amount of months. Same thing, no higher than 340, and then no lower than. What is happening now is once you break that, it throws all this data, or it throws all this off, because Apple's normally allowed to run, like, it'll be a red Friday, and then it's allowed to run on Monday, Tuesday, because there is no option. They're just jockeying for getting their positions set up, and then Wednesday comes around, it starts to kind of get on lockdown mode, and Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it gets put in its place. Well, now you may have, this isn't really set up for Apple to be higher. So now that Apple is higher, nothing is really set up right. So it has all this to just keep running and running. And if it does that, that's why it's hard for the options market. It takes a while for it to rein it back in. And then on another subject, going back to that Seeking Alpha article, what I thought is actually going to happen, why it starts to mess up with options too, is you have the 335 puts down here as your floor. This data is way, way early to be using, but just as an example, these 335 puts are the highest, and then the 340 calls are the highest. So that is exactly what I was talking about in that article. We'll go to this just as just to use a chart. I'm not saying that this stuff's going to move, but you have your 335 puts as the highest open interest, and then your 340 calls the highest open interest. They're right next to each other, and so that's why I was saying it's going to start to strangle itself. These are going to come in and tighter and tighter. I kind of had it the opposite in that article. I said, if the stock stays around here, this looks like the floor, and this will come in like your elevator door, and then spring open. It looks like the opposite's coming true. It's going to go more towards this one, and this put side is coming up. Either way, what I'm saying is, soon as it starts to get that range bound, just like it's like that elevator door, it's gonna bust open and go, and we may be on the verge of that. This may have been the first week, so that's a great sign. So yeah, that's what I believe happened. I just don't think